What's up? Today I am going to be making a video about 5 things that I hate about having a lowered car. By no means do I think my car is slammed or anything like that. The whole thing about having my car lowered is it has to be functional with it being lowered. As you know, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I drive a lot with my job. I haul a lot of stuff with my job, so I couldn't lower it so much to where I couldn't perform my job like I needed to. But anyways, I compiled a list of 5 things that I hate about having a lowered car. Again, by no means do I think my car is slammed or anything like that. It's lowered by like 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, somewhere around there. But there are some things that come along with even lowering it a little bit and lowering it a lot. So hopefully this video you can use as a resource if you're thinking about lowering your car, or if you have lowered your car, you can probably relate to the 5 things that I've mentioned. So number 1 is going to be the lights in the rear view mirror. Anytime anybody's driving an SUV, this doesn't usually happen with cars behind me, but anytime anyone's driving an SUV, a Jeep, a truck, something like that, the lights end up being the exact same height as my rear view mirror. I don't drive a lot at night. I don't like to drive a lot at night. I can't see very well at night, so I voluntarily don't drive a lot at night. But when I do, and somebody's behind me in a truck, SUV, or Jeep, or something of that sort, lights hit right where my rear view mirror is in my car. So I either have to tilt my rearview mirror a little bit, move my body a little bit to where it's not, directly in my eyes, but that's kind of bothersome. I never noticed it when my car was at stock ride height or even in my 4 Series, but I definitely notice it in this. So number 2 is scraping. So I don't scrape a lot. This car, the bumper, was lower than my 4 Series right off the bat. Stock ride height against stock ride height, the bumper was lower in the front on the GTI. Whenever I lowered it a little bit, scraping did become an issue. There are certain driveways I never go up, like my grandparents' driveway. Going up normally isn't the issue, it's going down. Anything like that is where I usually scrape. You just have to be careful. But what I have learned, and I'm sure most of you have learned if you have a lowered vehicle, is I just avoid that crap altogether. Number 3, curbs, parking, those little parking cement block things, anything like that. Whenever I did have my car at stock ride height, it really wasn't an issue pulling up to a parking spot. But with it being lowered, having a lip on the front is always an issue. When I had the lip on my 4 Series, I had to consciously park further away from one of those parking cinder block things, or parking concrete things. I don't even know what they're freaking called, but you have to be very aware of those. You have to be aware of any kind of curb you're parking against. Because the chances of you hitting either your front lip or the front part of your car on that is a lot higher when your car is lowered. Next, having to upgrade other components of your car. So whenever, let's take it this way, whether you lower your car or whether you lift your car, it's the same exact thing. So whenever I had my Jeep Wrangler, I lifted it. Whenever you lift anything or lower anything stock under your car is formed and made for stock ride height. It's gonna put pressure on those, or it's gonna put more pressure, should I say. So it's gonna wear them quicker. One of my friends who is a mechanic, he told me that he feels comfortable anywhere between 1 inch and maybe pushing 1.5 inches to lower or raise your car and not have to change the stock components. So that's kind of what I remembered and kind of tried to live by whenever I was lowering this car. Definitely the end links are a problem on this. It's not detrimental to this car, but it definitely makes a very annoying, frightening sound if you don't know what's going on. What I have done is I've ordered adjustable end links, and I'm gonna swap those out. But if you're not prepared to start swapping out stock components under your car, if you've raised it or lowered it more than 1.25 inches, be prepared for that. Just know that eventually, if not when you do it, if you want to do it right from the get-go, you need to upgrade some of those stock components to make sure, 1, they don't wear quicker, and 2, you don't hear that obnoxious, annoying sound of the end links. Last but not least, I went ahead and put this, I'm gonna mix kind of 2 in together because I didn't really know which one I wanted to go with, but both I have noticed enough to put on this list. First is ride quality. The GTI stock ride quality was phenomenal. I felt like I was driving on a cloud. You couldn't feel anything. It was great. My ride quality is still really, really great, especially compared to the 4 Series. It's still better than that, but I could definitely tell the quality of driving, my ride quality, that kind of thing. It did suffer a little bit with lowering the car. It didn't suffer enough to make me be like, oh man, this sucks. This is a horrible ride. It's still a great ride, but being able to compare it to that riding on a cloud feeling that came with the GTI at stock ride height, and you can definitely feel it, I could tell there was a difference. Again, it wasn't that big of a difference that I was like, man, this is horrible. I wish I wouldn't have done it, but you definitely can tell a difference. So If for whatever reason ride quality is not a huge deal with me, obviously I want it to be comfortable, but it's not a make or break kind of thing with me. If it is for you, you may want to reconsider lowering or raising your car. My car gets a lot dirtier easier. So I know I only lowered it about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, and mud flaps would technically take care of that. But with putting the different wheels on, the different tires, and lowering it kind of all together, it does make my car get a little dirtier a little quicker. So driving, hitting any kind of water, any kind of mud, tar on the road, anything like that, seems to flip up or flip off of the tire when you're driving, and it gets your car a little bit dirtier a little bit quicker. If you're really, really anal retentive about your car being clean, lowering your car may not be the best route for you, but again, like I said a second ago, I'm not a huge fan of the mud flaps. My E30 actually has mud flaps on them. I say I'm not a fan of the mud flaps. I just can't picture them on my car. Every time I try, I feel like it looks like too much, like it's just gonna be too much. And I think it's gonna like cross the borderline of tacky on my car. But mud flaps would definitely help that issue, especially if you have spacers on your car and your wheel and tire setup are a little bit further out or poke out a little bit more than stock. Mud flaps would definitely help that. Mud flaps are gonna keep any of the tar, any of the crap on the road, mud, water, whatever, from flinging all over your car. So if you're thinking about raising or lowering your car, you're just really OCD about keeping your car clean, probably not the best route because your car is gonna get dirtier quicker than normal. I just kind of wanted to compile a list of anybody who thought, hey, I'm thinking about lowering my car, especially if you know nothing about cars yet, which is completely fine. You kind of learn as you go. That's what I've done. But before I even raised my Jeep, so 3-5 years ago, whenever I first got my Jeep and I raised it, I had no clue about having to maybe upgrade anything underneath the vehicle along with the suspension. I had no idea about that. If you've set a budget aside and you're wanting to stick with that exact budget, either A, don't lower or raise your car enough to where you're gonna have to change the other stock components, or B, go ahead and put aftermarket shocks, in-links, just kind of stuff like that. Research a little bit more as to what you may have to upgrade along with the actual suspension. So along with the actual raising and lower of your car, when I say suspension, obviously not the whole suspension, but just keep in mind that you may have to do other stuff, so you may have to make your budget a little more flexible. Just don't panic if you have to do that. I thought these were kind of the 5/6 most important things if you are thinking about raising or lowering your car. So I hope everybody had a really good Thanksgiving. It was a few days ago. I ate way too much. I feel like I'm like 400 pounds right now. I need to go on like some kind of cleanse or something like that. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and check out my other videos.